One of our ideas behind the course was that in order to inspire our students to explore life stories of other people, we first want them to explore their own story, their own history and stories of immigration. And one creative tool that we used is maps. We worked with world maps, and at the very beginning of the course we asked our students to draw lines of immigrations on maps. What was interesting that some of the students didn't know the entire story of their immigration, so they needed to go home and to interview their parents, their grandparents, and then to come back to class and complete the exercise. And then in small groups people started sharing their family stories of immigration. When I talk about immigration, we also had students who didn't have stories of immigration in terms of moving from one country to another country. Some of them, for example, Arab Palestinians living in Israel, many of them don't have such stories of immigration, and this was also a very interesting perspective to the topic. By the stories that we collected from our students, we realized there are different types of immigrations. There are working migrants, there are migrants who were displaced, who were forced to leave, people who chose to live because of ideology, like Zionism, and different motivations for immigration.
Well, the maps idea, it comes actually from social science, and I'm a sociologist, so I was very interested in the transnational connections of migrants and refugees and how they stay connected to their people and whether they stay connected to their people, how they do it. And we thought that these kind of networks, these maps where the people are in the center and they can put in some very close people to their network and tell us who is connected in which ways. This could be a way to identify the transnational situation of these people. You can also do these kind of maps in a more artistic way. You can give the people the choice how to create these kind of maps, what kind of material you use, more colors, kind of things. And so we started playing around with this kind of maps, doing it not so formally like in social network analysis, but more creatively. They came up with a lot of different ideas, like using wood, which has these circles if you cut it in pieces. Some others used much more colors. Some used nails and wool and all these kind of different stuff. And so they started creating these kind of maps with these migrant youth in a more artistic way. And that was a great experience, I would say. We had a feedback round with the migrant youth. The thing was that we wanted to give them the opportunity to create their maps, either alone or in groups. They could choose their place also at the university, so we went out of the classroom, we went into the green, it was a beautiful day. Some of them went to classrooms, others went out and choose their place. And they created a map on their own, and we didn't interfere. But after that, we invited those young people to talk about these maps. But the thing was, they could choose whether they would like to talk about the maps or not. And the interesting thing was there was only a few who refused or who didn't want to talk about the maps, and it was completely okay. So they created the maps only for themselves. The others talked about their experiences with creating this map, and also they told the story behind the map and shared it with the others. For them, I mean, it was, they found it a great experience to do this map, and for especially it was a great experience because they met a lot of people here, like in their residential care. They used to be in residential care homes. And they told us, okay, you know, never any adult in Germany asked us these kind of questions. Where are your beloved one living? How do you stay in connection with them? All these kind of things. So we opened up kind of a space, and it was the chance for them to talk about things that were hidden for a long time.
The main subject of this course was the theme trust. Yeah, and I think it's very difficult to talk about trust relations without showing how these relations, these complex relations, are located in all of our lives. The experience we made in our workshop is that the creative process of the refugees building their products and products itself, they made the situation and these networks more palpable for us. Yeah, and the feelings of loneliness they felt during their flight and so on. And I think that's the point where you get away from written language and standardized symbols and signs, and we opened up this method, and it was an interesting experience. And this creative creating process triggered a lot of conversation between the refugees itself, and between the refugees, the students, and us as teachers at the university. I give one example of a project that was called the Trust Trees. Yeah, and our students asked the participants of the workshop to paint trust as a tree. Yeah, and to paint one tree per city or per place that's important for them. So, and during signing these, painting these trees, you come into conversation, yeah, and the other participants look what is he painting, and so they get into conversation to each other, and that was very interesting. So it worked as the original idea of the network mapping tool is, because it's also used as a stimulus during an interview. Yeah, if you fix some information, you can use it as a starting point for a new question or a new discussion.
Working with these vulnerable groups, there are some challenges as well. We have to see that, because these kind of maps can open up and remember people about all kind of different challenging experiences up to trauma. So we have to be really aware of these issues. But on the other hand side, it opens up a whole new approach to experiences for us. And also talking to young migrants, they could speak German quite well, even if they were only 1 or 2 years in Germany. But it was different for them to use these methods, because they didn't have to speak about their mother, the father. They can use these materials and express themselves with these materials. That was the major point for me in there. I think using it for an exhibition, for example, it would be another step. I think if we would like to follow up this line, we have to be in a longer engagement with young migrants. It could be a very interesting idea to engage in a longer time with these migrants, because then they are trusting us, perhaps we trust them. But then this is really important, because I think such an exhibition exposes yourself to the public. It would be great for them, because they disappear in Germany as well. They want, every policy is focused just on integration. Integration means disappearing. And I think it would be great if they appear in public in a positive way. So these kind of exhibitions would be great, but we have to be aware also that this kind of exhibitions are exposing people. So we have to be careful also in this respect.